To Tiffany Mataji to go on the verses from 5th canto, 2nd chapter. Tiffany Mataji, can you hand out the call, Mataji?
Hare Krishna. Yes, thank you, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we're beginning with verse 12. So Canto 5, Chapter 2, verse 12. Lokam pradarshaya suhitama bhattavakame yatratya ita murashavaya vava purvo asmad vidasya mano unayano vivarti bahal vabhutam sarasara sasadadi sudadi bhaktre. And translation and purport. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vijnana Swami Srila Prabhupada. O best friend, will you kindly show me the place where you reside? I cannot imagine how the residents of that place have gotten such wonderful bodily features as your raised breasts, which agitate the mind and eyes of a person like me who sees them. Judging by the sweet speech and kind smiles of those residents, I think that their mouths must contain nectar. Still bewildered, Agnidra wanted to see the place from which the Brahmana boy had come, where the men had such raised breasts. Such attractive features, he thought, must be due to the severe austerities performed there. Agnidra addressed the girl as Suhritama, the best friend, so that she would not refuse to take him there. Not only was Agnidra captivated by the girl's raised breasts, he was also attracted by her sweet speech. Nectar seemed to emanate from her mouth, and therefore he was increasingly surprised. And so for the next verse, Kavat mavritir adanadavir Angavati Vishnu Kalasani Mison Makorocha Karno Udvignamina Yugalam Vijapankti Sochir Ashana Bringa Nikaram Sara Imukante. And the translation and purport of this verse, translation: My dear friend, what do you eat to maintain your body? Because you are choosing betel, a pleasing scent is emanating from your mouth. This proves that you always eat the remnants of food offered to Vishnu. Indeed, you must also be an expansion of Lord Vishnu's body. Your face is as beautiful as a pleasing lake. Your jeweled earrings resemble two brilliant sharks with unblinking eyes like those of Vishnu, and your own eyes resemble two restless fish. Simultaneously, therefore, two sharks and two restless fish are swimming in the lake of your face. Besides them, the white rows of your teeth seem like white rows of very beautiful swans in the water, and your scattered hair resembles swarms of bumblebees following the beauty of your face. And the purport. The devotees of Lord Vishnu are also his expansions. They are called Vibhinamsha. Lord Vishnu is offered all kinds of sacrificial ingredients, and because devotees always eat prasada, the remnants of his food, the scent of sacrificial ingredients emanates not only from Vishnu, but also from the devotees who eat the remnants of his food or the food of his devotees. Agnidra considered Purvachiti an expansion of Lord Vishnu because of the pleasing scent of her body. Aside from that, because of her jeweled earrings shaped like sharks, because of her scattered hair resembling bumblebees mad after the scent of her body, and because of the white rows of her teeth which resembled swans, Agnidra compared Purvachiti's face to a beautiful lake decorated with lotus flowers, fish, swans, and bumblebees. And text 14. Yoso twaya karasaroja hata patango dikshu brahman brahmata ejayate kshini me Muktam nate, muktam nate smarashi vakrajata varutam kashto nilo hirati lam pate eshanivim. And the translation and purport. Translation. My mind is already restless, and by playing with a ball, moving it all about with your lotus-like palm, you are also agitating my eyes. Your curling black hair is now scattered, but you are not attentive to arranging it. Are you not going to arrange it? Like a man attached to a woman, the most cunning wind is trying to take off your lower garment. Are you not mindful of it? Purport. The girl, Purvachiti, was playing with a ball in her hand, and the ball seemed like nothing but another lotus flower captured by her lotus-like palm. Because of her movements, her hair was loose, and the belt holding her cloth was giving way, as if the cunning wind were trying to make her naked. Yet she paid no attention to arranging her hair or fixing her dress. As Agnidra tried to see the girl's naked beauty, his eyes were very agitated by her movements. Hare Krishna. Vardhana Mataji, you're muted again. We can't hear you.
Thank you so much, Tiffany Mataji. Mataji, can we greet devotees? I think Maharaj is not in the call yet.
Yeah, yes, Mataji.
Yeah. Please go ahead and introduce yourself, those who are on the call today.
Hare Krishna Vardhana Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Guru Maharaj ki Jai, Pritidasi from Shalva. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Preeti Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. This is Niharika from Bloomington.
Hare Krishna Niharika Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vardhana Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. This is Radha from Baltimore.
Hare Krishna Radha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vardhana Mataji. This is Kamadiki Dasi from Baltimore. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj and all the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Kamadiki Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vardhana Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharajas, and all glories to the assembled devotees. This is Tiffany in Pennsylvania. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Tiffany Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call and reading verses so beautifully. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Guru Maharaj ki Jai. This is Arvind Das from Chicago.
Hare Krishna Arvind Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for joining the call. I think Maharaj joined, Mataji.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we'll start the recording.
Yes, Mataji.
Are you going to start, Mataji, recording?
Yes, Mataji, it started. It started already.
Welcoming to the Bhakti Sangha conference call. Today we are very fortunate to have His Holiness Bhakti Vijnana Goswami Maharaj. Maharaj is going to enlighten us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 2nd chapter, verse 15 onward. I'll hand out the call to Praveen Govind Prabhuji for give brief introduction of Maharaj. Praveen Govind Prabhuji, can you take out the call, Prabhuji?
Yeah, yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. My Dandavat Pranams to all the devotees on the call. His Holiness Bhakti Vijnana Goswami Maharaj was born in Tashkent in the former Soviet Union. He took to spiritual life in 1980 during the difficult time of the communist era, when the Communist for State Security, KGB, was harassing all spiritual practitioners. Despite the obstacles, as a scientist at Moscow State University and a graduate and postgraduate student at the Institute of Molecular Biology, he decided to experiment with the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which moved him profoundly. From 1988 till 1995, he was head of the translation department of the North European BBT translation, Srila Prabhupada books into Russian and other languages of the Soviet bloc. In 1995, he officially took lead of the society in Russia. He acted as the ISKCON's GBC from 1997 till 2017, and then took as GBC emeritus position. His main zonal responsibilities were Moscow and most of Russian regions. He also took responsibility in Armenia, Georgia, Israel, and South Korea. He is a disciple of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. In 2001, he took sannyasa along with his present name. He travels widely throughout the world, sharing Krishna consciousness in his own unprecedented manner. Since 2005, he has been serving as one of the initiating gurus in ISKCON. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam Maharaj. Please take over. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam, all goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for giving your valuable time and association to us this morning and enlightening us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam. I'll hand over the call to you, Maharaj. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It was an unexpected invitation. Okay, so I'll try to speak a few words on this topic. I started listening Urmila Mataji lecture, which she gave the day before yesterday. Didn't listen too much, but she started by saying that this is a very unusual section of Srimad Bhagavatam. So let's try to see what this section of Srimad Bhagavatam is telling us. Okay, so let's read the verses and purpose by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vijnana Goswami Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narotamam Devim Saraswati Vyasa Tato Jayamudiraye Nashta Prayeshva Badrishu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Yam Pravrajantam Anapetam Apeta Prityam Dvaipayana Virahakatara Jubhava Putreti Tanmaya Tayo Taravo Binedus Tam Sarva Bhuta Hridayam Munimana Tosmi. So we start by reading the verse number 15 and probably verse number 16. These two verses of the second chapter of the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Rupam tapo dhana tapascharatam tapognam hietak tukena tapasa bhavato palabdham chartum tapor hasimaya sahamitramahyaam kimva prasidati savai bhava bhavano me. Word by word translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Rupam, beauty, tapah dhana, O best of the sages performing austerities, tapaha, charatam, of persons engaged in executing austerities and penances, tapagnam, which dismantles the austerities. He certainly, etat this, too, indeed, kena, by what, tapasa, austerity, bhavata, by you, upalabdham, achieved, chartum, to execute, tapaha, austerity, arhasi, you ought. Maya saha, with me, mitra, my dear friend, mahyam, unto me, kimva, or maybe, prasidati, is pleased, saha, he, why certainly, bhava bhavana, the creator of this universe, me, with me. Еще раз открою следующий стих. Translation. O best among those performing austerities, where did you get this wonderful beauty that dismantles the austerity performed by others? Where have you learned this art? What austerity have you undergone to achieve this beauty, my dear friend? I desire that you join me to perform austerity and penance, for it may be that the creator of the universe, Lord Brahma, being pleased with me, has sent you to become my wife. Agnidra appreciated the wonderful beauty of Purvachiti. Indeed, he was surprised to see such exceptional beauty, which must have been the result of past austerities and penances. He therefore asked the girl whether she had achieved such beauty just to break the penances and austerities of others. He thought that Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe, might have been pleased with him and might therefore have sent her to become his wife. He requested Purvachiti to become his wife so that together they could perform austerities and penances of family life. In other words, a suitable wife helps her husband perform penances and austerities in household life if both of them are on the same elevated platform of spiritual understanding. Without spiritual understanding, husband and wife cannot be equally situated. Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe, is interested in good progeny. Therefore, unless he is pleased, one cannot get a suitable wife. In fact, Lord Brahma is worshipped in marriage ceremonies. In India, even today, wedding invitations are still issued with a picture of Lord Brahma on the face of the card. So the next verse is Natvam Tyajani Daitam Vijadeva Datam Yasmin Manodrik Apino Naviyati Lagnam Mamcharu Sringaya Hasi Netum Anuvratam Te Chitam Yatach Pratisarantu Shivach Sachivya. Lord Brahma, who is worshipped by the Brahmanas, has very mercifully given you to me, and that is why I have met you. I do not want to give up your company, for my mind and eyes are fixed upon you and cannot be drawn away. O woman with beautiful raised breasts, I am your follower. You may take me wherever you like, and your friends may also follow me. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Now Agnidra frankly admits his weakness. He was attracted to Purvachiti, and therefore before she could say, but I have no business with you, he expressed his desire to be united with her. He was so attracted that he was ready to go anywhere, hell or heaven, in her company. When one is absorbed in lust and the influence of sex, one surrenders to the feet of a woman without reservations. Srila Madhvacharya remarks in this connection that when one engages in joking and talking like a crazy person, one may say anything and everything, but his words will be meaningless. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Panchakalpatarubhescha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Ajanulambit Bujok Nakavadat Sankirtanayati Pitaro Kamalaya Taksa Vishwambaro Dvijavaro Yugadharma Pal Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavatara Yantah Pravishya Mama Vachim Mamam Prasuptam Sanjeevayata Kila Shakti Daraksvadamna Anyamscha Hasta Charana Shravana Tvagadi Pranannamo Bhagavate Purushaya Tuvyam. So we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam Mahapurana, and we are in the beginning of the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And this beautiful chapter, which describes the romantic relationship or falling in love of Maharaja Gnidra and heavenly Apsara Purvachiti. So let's first quickly remember what was there before in the Srimad Bhagavatam and why we came to Srimad Bhagavatam to understand this topic in the greater context of this book. The first 2 chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam serve like introduction of Srimad Bhagavatam. The first chapter explains the qualification of the listener and hearer of Srimad Bhagavatam and methodology, how we should hear Srimad Bhagavatam with utmost attention. And what is the result of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam? Srila Prabhupada explains that by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, we can see Lord Krishna on every page. And he stresses very much the point of reading Srimad Bhagavatam from beginning to end, not jumping to the 10th canto, which is supposed to be the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. Why not jumping? Because Srimad Bhagavatam is gradually preparing us to understand the topic of the 10th canto properly. Otherwise, there is a great danger that we will interpret the stories of Lord Krishna as the stories of a great hero, of a historical personality. And the worst mistake which we can do is to identify ourselves with Krishna and be penetrated by the enjoying spirit of Krishna. So the first 9 cantos preparing us by clearing different difficulties, and the first canto is explaining how we should hear Srimad Bhagavatam and what is the purpose of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Usually we engage our ears and our senses to enjoy ourselves. So Srimad Bhagavatam is teaching us how to hear in a service mood. It's not so easy. It's not as easy as it may sound, because we used to employ our senses for the enjoyment, and the sense of hearing we always employ for enjoyment. And therefore, oftentimes when we come to Srimad Bhagavatam class, we basically want to be entertained. And oftentimes the speakers of Srimad Bhagavatam, feeling this sort of request or unspoken request or expectation from the audience, they try to satisfy this unspoken expectation, and they cut jokes and tell funny stories just to keep someone entertained. So the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam actually tells us that hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is not the entertainment, not a spiritual sort of entertainment. Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is a very serious spiritual practice. And actually, it's amazing spiritual practice, extremely potent and powerful spiritual practice, which can change the direction of our life completely. Ultimately, what is the purpose of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam? By hearing Srimad Bhagavatam in the proper mood, by initially placing ourselves on the proper position that this is my service to the Supreme Lord, we will be able to completely change our personality, our setup, our psychological nature, because now our psychological nature makes us enjoyers, and we try to enjoy everything. As Prabhupada said, we feel the Lord of our survey. Whatever we see, we try to lord it over. So that's the first canto. Second canto goes into more details. It's still the introduction to Srimad Bhagavatam, explaining the history of this book, how this book was transferred, and how this book appeared from the 4 verses which Lord Krishna himself gave to Lord Brahma. And at the end of this second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a verse which explains the whole design of this book. Atra sarga visargascha sthanam poshanam utaya manvantare sanukatha nirodha mukti rashraya. So the 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam I explained there, starting with sarga, and most of the acharyas who analyze Srimad Bhagavatam, they say that starting from the 3rd canto onwards, these topics are sequentially described, even though all the topics of Srimad Bhagavatam are described in all the cantos. Srila Jiva Goswami stresses this point that all 10 topics are in every canto, with some stress on some topic. But also we can see quite clearly that in certain cantos, certain topics are predominant. They are more prominent than other topics. So then 3rd canto is describing Sarga, the primary creation. And the 4th canto is describing Visarga, the secondary creation, the creation of the body of the living entities, and basically the rules how to live in this world according to the our psychophysiological structure. And this 3rd and 4th canto are very important because they basically deal with initial attitudes which are there in every conditioned soul. When a conditioned soul looks around the material nature, the enjoying spirit naturally arises in him, in his heart. We are looking in the material nature, at the material nature, and because the material nature is Prakriti, is feminine by nature, then and we are being little tiny replicas of the Supreme Lord, want to enjoy. This enjoying spirit is being aroused within our heart when we see this material nature, and we usually forget whose nature it is, that there is God behind this nature. So Sarga, elementary creation, explains that this nature is coming from the Lord. The topic of the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is to drive home a very important point. This energy is not my energy. and therefore I'm not entitled to enjoy this energy, even though it seems to be so natural. People, they look at the energy of the Lord, and this is the only thought which comes to their mind. Yes, this is for my enjoyment. And even those people who believe in God, they say, yes, God created this world for what? For me to enjoy, as if God, didn't have anything better to do. But really, that's the natural tendency, and people are trying to improve their enjoyment by the means of investigating material nature. So the scientists, what they do, why people are worshiping scientists, why scientists in the modern society are basically the priests. People believe every word which scientists said, and if you want to speak authoritatively, even during the lectures of Srimad Bhagavatam, you have to quote scientists. I've seen it many times when devotees, they refer to this scientific book or that scientific book, this scientific fact or that scientific fact, which is maybe not so bad. But the point which I'm trying to make is that people believe the science because science basically replaced the religion. Why science replaced the religion? Because science gives the facilities to enjoy this material nature and promises to enjoy in the future even more without any impediments. That's the main promise of the science. We will invent different things to you so that you will be facilitated in your desire to enjoy, and we will reduce to the minimum all the negative elements in this material nature, and your sufferings will be reduced. We will conquer over all these diseases. We will basically, this world is not perfect in itself. We will make it perfect for you to enjoy. And this is a very good religion. So the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is actually refuting this religion. The third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is explaining the ultimate cause of all causes, God, who is the cause of this creation, and reveals his purpose of creation. His purpose of creation is not to facilitate our enjoyment, but to liberate us from this spirit of enjoyment, and ultimately to frustrate us in this desire to enjoy this material world. This world is the place of suffering, not by mistake, because sometimes people say this, even those people who believe in God, that God created imperfect world, and we're here to make it more perfect, and God created us to make this world more perfect, which is completely insane. So definitely that's the perfect world according to the perfect desire of perfect God, who knows what he is doing, and he purposefully created this world perfectly imperfect. So within the imperfections of this world, there is a perfect design or perfect desire of the Lord to frustrate us, to make us more sober and help us to understand what is the meaning of life. Therefore, there is death. Therefore, there are so many things which make us free from this inebriety of material enjoyment, of the spirit of enjoyment. So that's the third canto. And the fourth canto is refuting another misconception, little more higher misconception, the misconception of karma. What is misconception of karma? That's a Vedic misconception. The fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is explaining that even if you follow perfectly Vedic rituals, which again promise you enjoyment in this world, you still will not enjoy. Science will not make you happy. but the Vedic science will not make you happy either. So that's a very sober message of the fourth canto. The very initial clash or conflict of the fourth canto is the clash between Lord Shiva and Daksha. And Daksha is the representative of this Vedic way of life. And he wants to enjoy, but he wants to enjoy in the most subtle way. He doesn't want to exploit the material nature in a gross way, but he's using sacrifices, yagyas, for the same basically purpose, to enjoy life. And Daksha represents the spirit of renunciation. And ultimately in this clash, Shiva represents the spirit of renunciation. And in this clash between Shiva and Daksha, in this conflict, Shiva is victorious. And the whole fourth canto is driving home this point, important point, that even Vedic way of life, which we habitually call karma or karma kanda rituals or karma kanda rituals, all the sciences which are behind Vedas, like astrology, Jyotish, or Kalpa, the ritual, and other Vedangas, which actually give you some more subtle enjoyment in this world, ultimately will not make you happy. So I'm telling this so that we can clearly understand what the fifth canto is all about, and why this unusual chapter of talking Maharaja Agnidra with Purvachiti is there. So the third topic, Atra Sarga Visargascha Sthanam. Sthanam is the topic of the fifth canto, and Sthanam basically means the structure of this universe. And therefore, in the fifth canto, we can see the structure of the universe. Different planetary systems are there, described by Srila Sukadeva Goswami. And there are prayers of different inhabitants to the Supreme Lord of different dvipas. And ultimately, Sukadeva Goswami wants to tell us that in every dvipa, on every level of the universe, of this structure of the universe, people are ultimately worshipping the Supreme Lord. Therefore, Srila Sukadeva Goswami, glossing these 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam, about the third topic, he says, Vaikuntha Vijaya, Sthanam Vaikuntha Vijaya. It basically means Sthanam Vaikuntha Vijaya. There could be different interpretations of this, but it literally means the victory of the Lord of Vaikuntha. That Sthanam is the arrangement which we see in this world. Sthanam basically means that everything has its borders and everything has its nature. So the very important message of the fifth canto is that you should follow externally your nature, because this is the nature which is established by God. Sthanam Vaikuntha Vijaya, the Lord of Vaikuntha, the Lord of the spiritual world, the world where there is no impediments, the world of complete freedom. He established borders and limitations within this material world, and we have to respect these borders and limitations. We have to act accordingly within this world and interact with this world according to the arrangements of the Supreme Lord. Internally, we have to develop our attachment to the Supreme Lord. There is a very important verse in this fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam where Sukadeva Goswami is explaining the laws comparing the laws of material nature with the ring, which pierces the nose of a bull. To rule the bull, his owner, he pierces his nose, and the nose is the most sensitive part of the bull's body, very painful. And therefore, when the owner of the bull wants to control him and to turn him in a certain direction, he just pulls ropes which are connected with this nose ring of the bull. So, and Srila Sukadeva Goswami, he gives this comparison, and he says that every one of us is like this bull, and the laws of material nature is like these ropes. And the Supreme Lord, who is the Lord of Vaikuntha, who established this world accordingly, he wants us basically to follow the proper rules of conduct. And as soon as we transgress the rules and the laws of material nature, we will feel pain as much as the bull who feels pain when his owner directs him in this direction or that direction. And immediately when we feel pain, when we feel suffering, we try to understand what's wrong, and we try to be more obedient or more respectful to the laws of God. That's what is happening. And therefore, all these movements are there, like, esoteric movement, New Age movement, all these people, they're trying to understand what are the subtle laws of God and respect this arrangement without clearly understanding who is God and why he arranged this. But they know, if we follow this, we will suffer less. So the fifth canto is explaining that there is certain nature, and we have to follow this nature. We have to respect this, but that's not the purpose. The purpose of respecting these laws is not to enjoy again, but respecting these laws, the purpose of it is to develop the internal freedom, which will give you some space or some facilities to develop spiritually. So that's the general message of the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and I should not speak more about this, although it's an interesting topic. I'm now trying to understand more methodically the message of each canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So here we have Maharaja Agnidra, and the natural question is, why this story is there in Srimad Bhagavatam? Why this story is there? This story is there to depict our own frailties, our own weaknesses, as Srila Prabhupada explains in the commentary to the second verse, to the 16th verse, which we read. Now, Agnidra frankly admits his weaknesses. He was attracted to Purvachiti, and therefore, before he could say, she could say, but I have no business with you, he expressed his desire to be united with her. We see this typical exchange between man and woman, male and female, and the typical attraction which is there, the very powerful force. And the example of Maharaja Agnidra is to show how powerful this force is. We're all actually slaves of this primordial desire, which manifests in every one of us as lust. This is a very powerful force, and we should actually respect this force. Therefore, the marriage institute is there, and therefore so much precaution is there in Vedic culture and basically in any culture to somehow or other control this lust. Of course, we're not talking about Western culture, because it can hardly be called culture. It would be an overstatement to call the modern Western culture as a culture. It's basically a very chaotic sort of arrangement of people to manifest their lowest propensities. But in any civilized society, this force is very much respected, and this force is respected in the sense that there are very strict rules how to be engaged in this relationship, how to enter into this relationship, which is the the natural propensity of every conditioned living being, but at the same time not to be entangled in this relationship. So Maharaja Agnidra, of course, is a Vedic king, and he's very cultured, and he knows what he's talking about. Therefore, first of all, in the first verse, in the 15th verse which we read, he says very interesting things. He says, Rupam tapodhana tapascharatam. Tapascharatam. He says that your beauty is the result of the wealth of your tapasya, of your austerity. That's a very elevated concept, which is practically not known to the people of modern world. That whatever you want to achieve in this world, and definitely beauty is one of the very desired opulences which people of this world would like to achieve, would like to have. Beauty is something which is very much valued. But how to achieve beauty? Beauty is the result of tapasya. We can see even in this life, if people live very, promiscuous life, very sensual life without any tapasya, they become very quickly completely ugly. They try by all the artificial means to maintain their so-called beauty, but all the simple activities ultimately make someone very ugly. No doubt about it. And we can see how people who may not be physically very attractive from their karma, from their birth, but by performing austerities, they become attractive. There is certain hidden beauty in these people who are restricted in their life. We can see sometimes, we can see devotees, and Srila Prabhupada actually was very proud of his followers. He said they are like people from Vaikuntha. They're effulgent. Why they're effulgent? Why they're so beautiful with shaven heads, with all this paraphernalia? Because they perform some austerities. And of course, Srila Prabhupada was also a brilliant example of this. He was extremely attractive. Why he was so attractive? Why this attraction was there? Because of tapodhanam, because of this wealth or opulence of tapasya, of austerity, which Srila Prabhupada performed during his life. And he's saying, where did you get this wonderful beauty? He's praising them. Of course, he's flattering to Purvachiti, but by flattering, he's saying a very important statement that if you want to achieve anything in this world, you should perform some austerities. Whatever you want to achieve, austerities is the key. And therefore, the people of ancient India, unfortunately, this spirit or this pride is almost non-existent in India, but they would say that our country is is Tapobhumi. This is the bhumi of austerities, the earth, the land of austerities. Whereas the rest of the world is Bhogabhumi. The rest of the world is for enjoyment. Indian land, soil is for performing austerities, because tapasya is the science behind any achievement of the human being. And even in the modern world, if you want to achieve something, you will have to perform some austerities. Of course, you know, even if you are democratically elected president, still you have to perform some austerities, although sometimes mistakes happen during this process, but still you have to do something. But then he says very interesting things, that this rupa which Purvachiti obtained is actually tapognam. The purpose of this beauty of Purvachiti is to destroy austerity of other people. So that's a very amazing statement, which is also very deep in nature. You know, people, they develop some sort of attraction for what? For what people want to be attracted. They actually want to seduce other human beings by their attraction. So that's the way how material life goes on. You know, we female and male, they try to be as attractive as possible. For male people, persons, it may not necessarily be physical attraction, although physical attraction is always welcome, but it may be wealth or fame or whatever. And people are trying hard, but ultimately, what is the purpose of it? Just to attract the opposite sex and to destroy or to break their austerities. People are engaged in this game, in this material world. They don't like when some other people are engaged in austerities. It's the spiritual history of the world is full of these stories when somebody is trying to perform austerities and trying to be spiritually elevated, and there is always somebody who wants to tapognam, to destroy or to distract him from this way of life. And we know in the life of Srila Haridas Thakur how a prostitute came to him and was trying to seduce him. So that's going on. That's the game of life which is going on. He says, where did you learn this art of destroying somebody's austerities? Basically what he says, you know, expressing it in a very plain and straightforward modern language, I'm already ready to get rid of my austerities, to give up my austerities. You may consider yourself successful in seducing me. And basically, he wants to seduce her by, you know, by saying that you're seducing me. That's going on. That's again the game. You know, the male wants to seduce female, female wants to seduce male, and you know, and then when they become successful, they blame each other. But ultimately, he wants to be seduced, and he hints to this Purvachiti that I'm ready. And Srila Prabhupada explains his internal intentions in the purport that he's basically saying to her that I'm ready to be engaged with her, I'm ready to be united with her. Of course, he's saying it in a, you know, in a, not in a gross way. He's covering his intentions by all this flowery language and everything. But nevertheless, you know, his desire is very clear. So what I want to speak now a little bit in this connection is that why it is not beneficial, why this impediment. And Srimad Bhagavatam is actually explaining in the example of this story, is explaining to us why it is detrimental for our spiritual development. Because it's a difficult topic, because we are emotionally very much invested. We invest our emotions into this desire to enjoy the happy family life, sexual relationship, and we all have this concept. Every conditioned living entity has this concept that this is the way to become happy in this material world, just to have happy sexual life. So why Srila Prabhupada was so consistently against it? And of course, Srila Prabhupada didn't invent it. He was just very faithfully following the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukadeva Goswami. What's so bad about it? So let's go a little before, actually this topic is very beautifully described in Brahma Samhita. In Brahma Samhita, in this 5th chapter of Brahma Samhita, which we still have, there is a description of the creation of this world, and it is explained that the original desire of Lord Hari, and this world is the manifestation of his original desire, his karma, which is completely pure. This desire of Lord Hari to create this world, and it's called karma there, and karma is not necessarily something bad. When we speak about the desire of the Lord, it's completely pure and completely transcendental. His desire is to actually liberate the conditioned souls. So his desire takes form of Lord Shambhu, because the Lord, he is always served by his transcendental energy, which is called Rama. This is the name of Lakshmi Devi. She is called Rama because she is bringing spiritual enjoyment to the Supreme Lord, and he is always engaged with his Rama Devi. He never is in contact with the material energy. But because the creation has to take place, then Lord's desire takes shape and turns into Lord Shambhu, Shiva, who is the master of Ahankar, of false ego. So Shambhu unites with the material energy, and this union of Shambhu with the material energy, he is lingam and material energy is yoni, actually impregnates by the union of Shambhu and yoni, the spirit souls impregnated into this material nature and ultimately develop their bodies with the same desire. And this is a very crucial moment. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, by commending Brahma Samhita, explains that this Shambhu, who is Shambhu? Shambhu is the Supreme Lord himself. Kshiram Yathadadi Vikara Vishesha Yoga. That Shambhu is Vikara Vishesha Yoga. He is very special manifestation of the Supreme Lord. He is non-different from Lord Govinda, and at the same time, he is different from Lord Govinda. He is Vikar. He is the transformation of the Supreme Lord. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, what is this Vikara Vishesha Yoga? Kshiram Yathadadi, like the milk is turned into yogurt. We all know the process, how the milk is transformed into yogurt. You should put some little yogurt into the hot milk, and this little yogurt ultimately transforms the whole yogurt into the the whole pot of milk into the pot of yogurt. So this is exactly what is happening. The Supreme Lord, by the contact with material nature, is transformed into Shambhu, and the Shambhu is different because he has the slightly different mood, and this mood is Ahankar. He is the Lord of Ahankar, and we all, being the result of this union between Lord Shambhu and the material nature, we all born with this Ahankar. And Ahankar means the spirit of independence. We want to be independent. And Ahankar is translated as false ego. Why it is translated as a false ego? Because this desire to be independent is false, because we are not independent. But how do we manifest or express this desire to be independent from the Lord? The main and the principal manifestation or expression of this desire of our independence is this sex desire. So that's a very important point which we have to very clearly understand, that our desire to enjoy sex life is so dangerous for our spiritual development, because it ultimately very deeply rooted desire to express our independence on the Lord. We are rebellious soul, and we want to express our rebellious, we want to prove our right to enjoy independently on the Lord by engaging in sexual relations, especially if this is completely, nonsense sexual relationship. If it is regulated, and if it is for the purpose of procreation, for the purpose of the real purpose, for the purpose of perpetuating this material world with the original idea behind this material world to liberate every living entity, then this desire becomes sacred. And therefore, the marriage institution is there to sanctify this tendency. But if we are expressing this desire without any limitations, without any respect to the laws of material nature, that's the very fundamental rebellious tendency of the living entity against the Lord. And therefore, any religion, the first thing which any religion has to do, if it's proper religion, I'm not talking about New Age movements or whatever, because they basically don't bother about these restrictions. But any bona fide religions has restrictions how to sanctify this very powerful energy. Because if this energy is unbridled, if it's not really limited or controlled by the living entities, if it's not really channeled through the proper channel of the sanctified marriage relationship, then it totally destroys or covers over, not destroys, because it cannot be destroyed, but our tendency to serve. We as spirit souls have these two tendencies, tendency to enjoy independently on the Lord and the tendency to serve the Lord. We want to be enjoyers, And at the same time, we want to be servants, we want to be followers. And sometimes to become enjoyers, we want to become followers. In this material world, like Maharaja Agnidra, he says, I'm your follower. I'm ready to follow you to heaven or hell. In the second verse, he says, I'm your faithful follower, dear Purvachiti. I will go anywhere behind you if you give me this facility to enjoy. But again, the point which I'm trying to make is that this fundamental desire of sex life is a very powerful force because it has this metaphysical roots, metaphysical nature. It's not, and it's from this primordial event when Lord Shambhu was uniting with Lord Shambhu, who is this, who is the manifestation of this prithak bhava, of this separateness from the Lord, desire to be separated from the Lord. So from that point onwards, we all have the same tendency, but for him, it's natural when we express the same desire, especially if we're not really trying to control it within the sacred marriage or institution like this, it becomes not only sinful, it becomes offensive, ultimately. It becomes very, very, it becomes very detrimental for our spiritual development. It basically destroys not only tapasya, as Agnidra says here, but it destroys the very desire to achieve something spiritually, the very subtle sentiments which are there in every living entity, to be closer to God, to achieve some sort of spiritual advance. So that's little expression of or little explanation of why this is so detrimental and why in any religion this problem has to be solved one way or another. How to control sex life. And of course, Vaishnava literature is very consistent in this regard. Sometimes, for the taste of some people, too consistent. But we have to understand the science behind it and then see how we fit into this science and how we can, really follow this without being too much entangled. But at the same time, we have to understand that this is, as Prabhupada explains in the commentary to the very first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, that this is the manifestation of Adi Ras. Why it is so powerful? Because it's a perverted reflection of our attraction to the Supreme Lord. That ultimately we are attracted to the Supreme Lord. And this attraction is, how to say this, may be viewed as common. And this is exactly what Srila Rupa Goswami uses when he, in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, calls the attachment of gopis of Vrindavan as common. And in fact, Narada Muni also calls it common, that you can be attracted to the Supreme Lord by so-called lust. But actually, it's not lust, it's real love. So Srila Rupa Goswami, very interestingly, he describes in Ujjvala Nilamani the signs of this attraction. And of course, when Srila Rupa Goswami explains in Ujjvala Nilamani the signs of this attraction between male and female, he definitely means or implies that this is the attraction between the Supreme Male, Krishna, and those souls who want to develop the strongest sort of attraction. towards him. But actually we can see that, and he gives the signs of this attraction. And we can see that the same signs of this attraction between male and female pervertedly expressed in this material world when the male and female bodies or male and female minds feel mutual attraction. So I wanted to read this 10 signs of developing so-called love in the material world, or 10 stages of developing love in the material world, which are the reflection of the original desire of the soul to be close to God. So it's very interesting because, and it's very relevant to this particular story. These 10 stages of the development of love starts with chakshuraga. First, attraction through the eyes. The initial attraction between male and female is just attraction towards the body, towards the beauty, and the attraction takes part in the eyes initially, chakshuraga. And therefore it is recommended that if somebody doesn't want to be sexually agitated or attracted, he has to be actually very chaste, primarily with his eyes. And we can see that those unscrupulous people who want to destroy the innocence of people, they put all kinds of so-called attractive sexual, pornography in the internet, so that this chakshuraga would be excited. So first is chakshuraga. First we see somebody and we see this attraction. Second is chitta sangha. The attachment of the mind. In the mind we feel, or in the heart, we feel some attachment. Initial attraction, it's not so strong, but if this initial stage of attraction develops further, then we feel chitta sangha. We want to associate more closely. We want to speak. We want to hear, and we feel the attraction within the mind. So then the third stage is sankalpa. Sankalpa means determination. Sankalpa means, because of this attachment in the mind, the force within the heart becomes such a strong force that we determine by all means to achieve the desired object of our attraction. And then nidra cheda. Here you are, you cannot sleep. You lose your sleep because of such strong desire. And actually, if we analyze it very critically, we will be able to see, the scientists, I'm quoting the scientists to sound more authoritative. So, we can actually very clearly understand what's going on a hormonal level in each stage of this attraction. There are specific physiological processes which are excited in our body through this attraction. So nidra cheda, because too much stress hormones already exuded by our brain due to this determination, by all means, I have to achieve this. One cannot sleep because one is always agitated. Too much adrenaline and all kinds of stress hormones are there already in the body. So you lost sleep. This is the fourth stage, nidra cheda. And then tanuta. Tanuta means, tanu means thin. Tanuta means you become emaciated because you lose sleep, you lose appetite, you cannot, think about anything else because you're so, so attracted to somebody. You cannot really take away your mind from this. And then vishaya nivriti, you lose interest to other things. Everything else which was attractive to you before, like going to the nature or some other innocent, more innocent ways of expressing this desire to enjoy, they become pale and not really exciting. And then trapanasha, shamelessness. You lose your shame. I've seen how it works. Sometimes people, they become so crazy, by this sexual obsession. They become totally shameless. And then unmada, madness. And then murcha. Murcha means you lose your consciousness. You basically, you faint. And then ultimately mriti, death. So that's 10 stages of developing this attraction. And this is how it works. This is how dangerous it is. And this is why, even on the physical level, we should be very, very chaste. And we should not try to enter into these useless games by wasting our energy, and not energy only, but spoiling our heart, spoiling our intentions, spoiling our mind, and spoiling our chances to achieve the Supreme Lord, or spoiling our chances to be engaged in spiritual practice. So I'm really sorry I already went too long, but I thought I should give you this little sannyasi talk. I'm sorry for this.
Hare Krishna,
So,
Maharaj.
very much.
Thank you. No, Maharaj, thank you so much for very wonderful class, Maharaj. Very valuable points, very instructional. Thank you so much, Maharaj. If anybody have any questions or realizations, please go ahead.
Yes, everyone is shocked.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dhanvat Pranam Maharaj. So when you mentioned about Shambhu uniting with the material nature, you meant material nature as Parvati. Am I right in that understanding?
Yes. Prakriti as Parvati. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj, Dandavat Pranams. Maharaj, I just had this question about the 10 themes of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, doesn't the first chapter, the first canto, second canto talk about Sarga, Visarga and go on like that? Or you were mentioning it starts from the third canto. So I was not clear, Maharaj.
So Prabhupada calls the cantos starting from the first canto, Sarga, Visarga, and he calls it, of course, by English names. And definitely Prabhupada, is right. We can also, try to analyze Srimad Bhagavatam from this perspective. But those acharyas who comment on Srimad Bhagavatam, they usually say that first two cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, as the lotus feet of the Lord, they're like preliminary, and the main topic, starting with Sargas, starts with the third canto, and quite clear, argument in this regard is that this very verse is at the end of the second chapter or second canto. If this design, topic-wise, would start before, then we would expect probably that this verse explaining the 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam would appear before. So it's very logical in this sense. But Prabhupada has his way of explaining this, and it's actually interesting because in the beginning, being neophytes, we may be baffled by these apparent contradictions. But when we grow a little more, then all these apparent contradictions will become actually will become an impetus would deepen for us to think more deeply about different topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's not a contradiction, it's just different views of the same topic. And by looking at the same topic from different points of view, we will be able to see the whole subject matter in more details. But, you know, and there are many other indications that, you know, like, for example, today I was giving a class on the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam starts with the questions of Maharaja Parikshit, where he clearly says that now you explain to me this Manvantara topic, which is Saddharma. Now please explain to me Ishanukatha or Vamsacharitani. So, but again, you know, we should definitely try to reconcile these apparent contradictions, and by in the process of reconciliation, we will actually be rewarded by more deeper understanding of what's going on.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. And also the short summaries you gave of each canto really set the flow, and it was so nice to hear from you the short summaries leading up to this. And I'm very grateful to you, Maharaj, for that. Please give us your association more often. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
If you want to hear a little more about this, I'm giving this series of talks on these topics, so canto by canto. So it's there. It's a topical analysis of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's in my YouTube channel in English.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Dandvat Pranam, Maharaj. Thank you for your association. It was really very enlightening. So Maharaj, you said that, like, we all experience this desire to enjoy in this material world, and at the same time, this material world is created, you mentioned, to frustrate us from this desire. So Maharaj, in like, we also, while practicing and doing our japa, we don't have that higher taste yet. We are still practicing, and sometimes these disturbing thoughts with whatever going on in the world, like, comes with the lustful desires. So Maharaj, how to reconcile that? Like, sometimes we feel very bad, like, while practicing. So,
and therefore we have to be very careful. We are actually very closely connected with the material nature, and this close contact with material nature, as Prabhupada said, that we will have lust until we have material body. Material body means lusty desires, and maybe expressed in a more subtle way, maybe expressed in material mind also. It's just we have to be very careful, and we have to really understand our dangerous position because of too much close contact with this material energy. You know, we're constantly agitated and excited about different plans and ideas of enjoyment, not necessarily sexual, but we always have these ideas, how I will enjoy in the future. I will go there, I will do this, I will do that, I will go shopping, I will buy this or that. So, and by engaging in these thoughts all the time, we're nourishing our, you know, material nature. And this chapter is about this because Maharaja Agnidra, he enjoyed with Purvachiti very properly, the proper family life, and she gave him 9 children, if I remember it correctly. But then she went back to her heavenly planet, and he was so touched. And he, as he says in these verses, I'm ready to go behind you wherever you go. So he went behind her on the same planet where she was. So by contacting with material nature very intimately, we're always reinforcing this tendency, and we are nourishing this tendency, and we are nourishing our material nature. So we have to be careful, and we have to limit it. Of course, you know, discipline of Krishna consciousness allows this contact by transforming this contact into the service, in the act of service, like we're hearing. But we are not hearing, we're consciously not hearing to enjoy, but we're hearing to serve and to understand deeper the topics of the Lord and to serve Srimad Bhagavatam. So with this understanding, we have to hear. With the same sort of understanding, we have to eat prasadam. You know, there is this little story from the life of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, whose appearance day we celebrated recently. You know, he was always saying that, who are you? Are you Drishya, the seen, or Drishta, the seer? That was his, as he said, contribution to the theology or philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So once a very scholarly and rich person came to Gaudiya Math and started eating rasagula or malpura, actually, malpura. And Ananta Vasudev, a close disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he jokingly asked this man, who is eating whom? Are you eating malpua, or malpua is eating you? Meaning, what is going on at the moment? Yes, this is Mahaprasadam, but are you enjoying Mahaprasadam, or you allow Mahaprasadam, who is not different from Krishna, to enjoy you? By serving Mahaprasadam, by trying to understand the significance of this process. So habitually we enjoy Mahaprasadam, although as well as habitually we try to enjoy by coming to the, you know, Mangalarati, we enjoy the dresses of the Lord, and, you know, but it should be contrary. We come to Mangalarati to be enjoyed by the Lord. We listen Srimad Bhagavatam to be enjoyed. This process of us hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is the enjoyment for the Lord. The Lord is happy. And if we have this idea, then it will be successful. In the same way, when we chant Hare Krishna mantra, again, what is going on? Why I'm doing this? Because I want to bring some enjoyment to the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Not that I'm chanting Hare Krishna and I'm always thinking, you know, when I will become happy. Prabhupada said, chant and be happy, and I'm not becoming happy. What's going on? What's wrong? Something is wrong, you know. When it will bring happiness to me? No, but, you know, as soon as you change your frame of mind, and I'm chanting, and because Lord wants me to chant, and because he becomes happy when he, you know, as much as the father becomes happy when his little son says, you know, Papa, Papa, oh, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. So the Lord becomes happy when we, you know, in our broken language, pronounce his names. So if we have this understanding, then we nourish our spiritual nature. If we continue with the same attitude, which we, habitual attitude which we have, then it will not be, it will be detrimental.
Thank you, Maharaj. Very
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for, I'm very appreciative of the way that you described that by following austerities, we develop internal freedom to go deeper in spiritual life. I really appreciated that point. And I also you also made the point about, you were speaking of destroying austerities, how sometimes, others try to destroy austerities. And I was wondering, could we also look at that as a form of envy as well? Would that come?
Yeah,
Yes.
Absolutely. That's the manifestation of envy in this material world. When we see somebody is engaged in austerities, the initial impetus, no, he cannot do this. Yes, thank you for this.
Thank you, Maharaj, and thank you again for the class. It was wonderful.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Anant Koti Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Shri Radha Gopinath ki jai. Very, very inspiring class, Maharaj. My question is, Maharaj, after chanting 27, 28 years morning japa, the mind after 1 hour is like sometimes feel sleepy, sometimes feel, oh, I have to do this, not the sense gratification, that is the no question, Prabhu, Maharaj, but I have to do this, like that thoughts is coming, we have to get up, again we have to start walking, and then again we have to give a 5 to 6 slaps to our mind, and then again it came in a lotus feet of Shri Radha Gopinath. So Maharaj, we try our best, but why it's happened that mind is going here and there, not in a sense gratification, but daily routine. Oh, today I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to read Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing this class, that class. So why that thoughts is coming in the morning time only? Hari Hari Gauranga Ananta Koti Dandavat Pranam Maharaj.
That's the nature of the mind. The mind always wants to do something else. The mind hates to be present in present. He always wants to do something in the future. And that's basically the influence of Rajagun, because the whole environment in this Kali Yuga is very Rajasic. We have so much Rajasic energy. And even before people to cultivate or to be engaged in meditation, deeply in meditation, they would go somewhere in the very sattvic places, like mountains, limiting their contacts with the senses. We are engaged in a very powerful process which does not require such strict limitations. Nevertheless, because our senses always in contact with the sense objects, and because the sense object by the senses are creation of Rajagun, the sense objects are creation of Tamagun, according to the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And the mind is the creation of Sattvagun. So when the senses, which are the product of Rajagun, are in contact with the sense object, which is the product of Tamagun, they influence the mind, and the mind becomes polluted. And the mind, due to this, habitual contact of the senses with the sense objects, always agitated by this Rajagun. So therefore, even the great devotees of the Lord, great acharyas, they sometimes would go somewhere in the cave, underneath the earth. They would, in Vrindavan, I've seen this caves or this holes which they would dare and dig, and they would sit there so that nothing would distract them. So of course it may sound like a little extreme, but we have to try to limit our sensual contacts as much as possible. And of course, all these memories of our previous day and future days, they're always there. So it will be struggle. Don't worry, 27 years is not much. I'm doing this 40 years already. It's okay. But gradually, you still develop the taste, and try to, but it will go on. It will go. The mind will be distracted because that's the nature of the mind. But by the mercy of Krishna or the mercy of great devotees of the Lord, you may get sometimes stronger attraction to the chanting of the holy name. Like sometimes it happens with us during the kirtan. It's easier to experience during kirtan because in kirtan all our senses are engaged and our mind is not so active. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya says it is kirtan which is the most powerful and most important spiritual practice for this age. But still, nevertheless, we have to chant japa and we have to somehow or other to calm down the mind and, bring him back again and again and again. No matter how many times we will have to do it, we will have to do it. Don't be frustrated.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Anant Koti Dandvat Pranam. Thank you for such a nice advice, Maharaj. I just trained my mind that front of me, Shri Radha Gopinath is there, Radhanath Maharaj, Jai Radhanath Maharaj, Jai Pataka Maharaj, Jai Niranjan Maharaj, Jai Chindradhara Maharaj is sitting, all the senior brahmachari are sitting. And then I start again japa. Sometimes think that I'm in Sridham Vrindavan Dham with Maharaj, Gurudeva, and doing parikrama of Sridham Vrindavan Dham. Sometimes like nearby sitting Shamakunda, Radhakunda, Shamakunda, Shri Radhakunda. Then again mind is coming lotus feet of Shri Radha Gopinath by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev. Thank you Maharaj, Anant Koti Dandvat Pranam, Jai Jai Nityananda, Jai Jai Gauranga.
Yeah, sometimes I heard this advice that you can chant your first round by sitting by the lotus feet of your Guru Maharaj, your first few rounds. And then you can do it like this. It works. Thank you. The main thing that we should not be in this material world at this moment. So we try to drag our mind to the lotus feet of the Lord as much as possible. Or at least to the topics of Srimad Bhagavatam or to the holy place as you explained. Okay, I guess we're finished.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Please accept my blessings. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so very much for accepting our request and coming on the call, giving such a nice, nectarian, wonderful class. Maharaj, thank you so much. We are very, very grateful to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, we want your association in future also, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj. Dandvat Pranam.
Dandavad.
This is, you don't know me. Jai. Hare Krishna Maharaj. This is Jai Gaurasundar Das.
Oh, Jai Gaurasundar Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Very wonderful. Very wonderful. Okay. I see you. Oh, Hare Krishna. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Very, very wonderful class, Maharaj. Thank you so much for your association. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for enlightening class today. We are very grateful to you, Maharaj, and we look forward for the association again in future. If nobody, Lalitangi Mataji, do you have any question, Mataji?
No, Mataji. I just wanted to thank Maharaj for the wonderful class.
Yes, your obeisances to Maharaj.
Let us. Yes, Mataji. Go ahead, Mataji. Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, His Holiness Bhakti Goswami Vijnana Goswami Maharaja ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Dandvat Pranam Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandvat
Hare Krishna, Dandvat Pranam Maharaj.
Yes.